Dumps it off on first down. It's Henry. Hunter Henry down the sideline.
When it comes to making strong first impressions, much of the 2024 NFL rookie class has not disappointed. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Brock Bowers, and Malik Neighbors headline the group of newbies who've played like stars since stepping onto the field. On the flip side, there also hasn't been a shortage of first-year players who have struggled mightily during the transition from college to the pros. Dare we say they look like draft busts? Now, before we start, allow us to clarify that we're not deeming their careers over. But if these players don't bounce back from an awful rookie campaign over the next 2 years or so, they're gonna go down as big-time draft busts. So, with that clarification out of the way, how about we take a look at 10 NFL rookies who already look like big-time busts?
By our camera crew, Michael Tadamir got to that shot. Here comes Rico Dowdle, first down with a nice juke move.
Dallas Turner. The Minnesota Vikings were so high on Turner's potential that they gutted their 2025 draft capital to move up for him. For starters, they gave up their 2024 and 2025 second-round picks to land an additional first-round pick from the Houston Texans in 2024. Then they traded up via the Jacksonville Jaguars, giving up their 2024 first and a 2025 third-rounder to snag Turner at number 17 overall. As ESPN's Seth Walder noted at the time, the draft value system shows many basically lost a first-round pick with these two trades. And essentially, it cost them 2 first-rounders in order to get Turner. Unfortunately for Minnesota, Turner has not really done a whole lot of anything in year 1 to justify the aggressive moves by GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. Turner has only played about 1/5 of Minnesota's defensive snaps in a rotational role, and the data at Pro Football Focus does not paint a pretty picture. Aside from just a disappointing stat line, the advanced stats show that he's barely average as a pass rusher and run defender. Was the trade-up really worth it? Through the halfway point of the 2024 season, it certainly does not look like it. Folks seem to be overlooking Turner's disappointing rookie year because the Vikings have been a pleasant surprise, namely Sam Darnold and Brian Flores' defense. But I think it's safe to say that if Minnesota had a do-over, Adolfo-Mensah would sell 3 valuable day 2 picks to get Turner. Terrion Arnold. Arnold was the consensus top cornerback prospect entering the 2024 NFL Draft, and it just so happened that the NFC runner-up Detroit Lions had a pressing need for cornerback help. As such, it felt like the match made in heaven when the Lions drafted the Alabama product 24th overall. The secondary was Detroit's only pressing need, and Arnold was to join a secondary led by rising star Brian Branch and offseason trade pickup Carlton Davis. Despite the new faces, however, the Lions' pass defense remains one of the worst in all of football, and Arnold's struggles are a key reason as to why. Arnold has been terrible in coverage by practically all metrics. Opposing quarterbacks have combined for a passer rating north of 90 when targeting Arnold, who ranks at below average at PFF too. Arnold was a 5-star shutdown cornerback for Nick Saban's Crimson Tide, but he's been the weak link in Detroit's secondary this year. Dan Campbell and company can only hope that it's nothing more than growing pains, and that Arnold will have it all figured out in year 2. Xavier Legette. The Carolina Panthers traded up via the Buffalo Bills to take South Carolina wide receiver Xavier Legette with the number 32 selection, adding another weapon to try and help Bryce Young rebound from a miserable rookie year. The move seemed pretty genius at the time, since the Panthers' only playmaker a year ago was 33-year-old Adam Thielen. Legette, coupled with the arrival of new Panthers head coach Dave Canales, gave Young hope for a bounce-back season in year 2. But sheesh, nothing has gone right for the Panthers this season. In fact, it took just 2 games for Young to get benched in favor of veteran Andy Dalton. But no matter who the QB has been, Legette just hasn't been producing for the Panthers. Take away that 66-yard outing in Week 4 against the Cincinnati Bengals and garbage-time stats, and Legette simply has not done enough to show that he's worthy of a first-round pick. Maybe Carolina's new starting QB in 2025 will be able to unlock this speedster's potential. Jalen Polk. Too bad the New England Patriots traded down with the Los Angeles Chargers from 34 to 37. The Chargers made good use of that pick by taking Georgia wideout Ladd McConkey, who is already looking like a future number 1 receiver. The Patriots were pretty happy to move down to select Washington wide receiver Jalen Polk, hoping that he could end their never-ending search for a number 1 receiver. A Polk-Drake May pairing gave Pats fans something to be excited about in year 1 of the post-Bill Belichick era. Now, okay, we know he's a rookie, but come on, Polk is basically performing like a practice practice squad level player this year. Over the Patriots' first 7 games, Polk had just 10 receptions for 78 yards and a single touchdown. Polk hasn't drawn any separation whatsoever, and his inability to get targets is concerning when you consider that the Pats have, like, the worst set of receivers in the league. Patriots fans understandably have early concerns on Polk because this team has a terrible history of drafting and developing wide receivers. Guys like Chad Jackson, Aaron Dobson, and N'Keal Harry just never panned out. Is Polk the next one to join that list? Only time's gonna tell here. May has shown flashes of brilliance in his rookie year, but he won't hit stardom unless the Patriots put some real weapons around him. Obviously, that hope starts with Polk rebounding from a rough rookie year and finally hitting his potential in year 2. Byron Murphy II. The Seattle Seahawks had the league's second worst run defense in 2023, allowing a whopping 138.4 rushing yards per game on the ground. So the solution was rather simple heading into the 2024 NFL Draft. Grab the best available defensive lineman. So, with the number 16 pick, the Hawks took Texas defensive tackle Byron Murphy II. No relation to Vikings cornerback Byron Murphy, by the way. And with a full season of Leonard Williams in Seattle, it looked like the Hawks had the pieces to field a top 10 run defense. Or, I guess not. The Hawks' rushing defense has been better than last year, but Murphy has not been helping matters. He's been used as a rotational piece, playing about half their defensive snaps with the odd workload on special teams. Murphy's run defense hardly ranks inside the top half of qualified defensive linemen at Pro Football Focus, too. Again, Seattle's misery against the run isn't entirely on Murphy, but geez, he was supposed to do a lot more than what we've seen thus far. Adonai Mitchell. It's easy to forget now, but Adonai Mitchell was widely projected to be a first-round pick before the draft, or at least an early second-rounder. The Texas wideout was ranked as the number 36 prospect by ESPN's Mel Kiper prior to the draft, so it felt like a bit of a steal for the Indianapolis Colts when they got him at number 52 overall. I mean, how could he not produce in an offense with Anthony Richardson, Michael Pittman Jr., Jonathan Taylor, and Josh Downs? Well, Mitchell's barely seeing the field, playing less than a third of the Colts' offensive snaps. Over the Colts' first 8 games, he had just 11 receptions for 118 yards and 0 touchdowns. And in that period, he didn't hit the 40-yard mark once. But, other than that, we suppose that the ex-Longhorn star hasn't been so bad as a rookie. Olu Fashanu. It was actually a bit surprising when the New York Jets decided to use the number 11 pick on Penn State defensive tackle Olu Fashanu. I mean, they already had 2 quality bookends in veterans Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, not to mention the rock-solid John Simpson and Elijah Vera Tucker pairing at guard. It just really felt like the Jets needed to address a bigger position of need and take a player who could produce immediately. Someone like Brock Bowers, Jared Verse, or Brian Thomas Jr. But they rolled the dice on Fashanu, thinking long-term instead of going win now with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. And yep, sure enough, that move already looks like a mistake. Fashanu is only seeing about 1/3 of the Jets' offensive snaps as a rotational player. Through the Jets' first 9 games, he had a miserable PFF pass blocking grade of 35.3 and an overall grade of 47.1. That is not worthy of a first-round pick by a team trying to win while they have Aaron Rodgers, huh? Amarius Mims. Trent Brown's season-ending knee injury means the Cincinnati Bengals were actually smart to use their first-round pick on Amarius Mims in hindsight. But let's go back to day 1 of the draft and ask why Cincy had to use a first-round pick when they had Brown and Orlando Brown Jr. as their bookends. Unfortunately for Cincinnati, Mims has not been up for the challenge of being thrust into a starting role. The Georgia product and number 18 pick is essentially in the bottom 4th tier of qualified offensive tackles with a PFF grade of 53.4. Though he hasn't struggled as much as other rookie offensive tackles in pass protection, Mims has been practically helpless in run blocking. And it's pretty evident when you see the drop-off in the Bengals' rushing game going from Joe Mixon to a Chase Brown and Zach Moss tandem. Joe Burrow is still taking way too many hits, and the Bengals continue to disappoint because of 3 main factors: the O-line, the lackluster rushing game, and a defense that can't stop a nosebleed. You just can't help but wonder, what if the Bengals used a pick on someone like Brian Thomas Jr. to form a dynamic trio with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? Or I don't know, a shutdown cornerback like Quinton Mitchell, or a pass-rushing menace like Jared Verse. Mims was considered a boom or bust prospect heading into the 2024 NFL Draft. And sure enough, he has been nothing but a bust up to this point. Tyler Guyton. Love or hate to Jerry Jones, but the Dallas Cowboys owner usually nails his first-round picks. The likes of Zach Martin, Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons are among the prime examples of Jerry's first-round picks who produced immediately. That has not been the case for Tyler Guyton, however. Thrust into his starting role after Tyron Smith's departure, Guyton is in PFF's bottom third of offensive linemen for both run blocking and pass blocking. The Cowboys have the worst rushing offense in the league, and the pass protection in front of Dak Prescott has been the weakest since his arrival in 2016. Now, it's not fair to blame Guyton too much on the Cowboys' struggles in the trenches, but for an owner who claimed his team was all in, I think it was imperative for Jones to hit on this pick. Not only has Guyton failed to make an impact, but he's almost doing as much harm as good in both run blocking and pass blocking. Of course, hindsight is 2020, but seeing how awful Smith has been with the Jets, I think it's safe to say that the all-pro offensive tackle in Dallas were just better off continuing their partnership. But hey, what do we know? Chop Robinson. The Miami Dolphins needed pass rushing depth given the injury concerns around stars Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. So, taking Penn State edge rusher Chop Robinson at number 21 overall felt like the perfect move at the time. I mean, come on, after all, you can never have too many pass rushers in today's NFL, especially when you're in the same conference as Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, et al. But this whole pass rushing situation has been, well, disastrous in Miami. Phillips played 4 games before requiring season-ending knee surgery. Chubb is still recovering from a torn ACL that he suffered a year ago. Oh, and of course, Robinson has been virtually non-existent for most of his rookie year. Robinson is getting snaps on both offense and defense, but there's just not much to be impressed by on the game film. His week-to-week stat line is filled with zeros, and he has hardly provided any pressure on opposing QBs. The Dolphins entered this year in win-now mode and needed immediate production from Robinson, especially with Chubb out to start the season. Sadly, that has just not been the case, and the Dolphins are royally screwed in the front 7 if he does not pick it up in the second half. But hey, which other 2024 NFL rookies are already looking like big-time draft busts? Do you agree with our list? Is there anyone that we may have missed here? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking that like button helps us out a ton. And of course, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then hey, subscribing is a pretty good idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.